Hello everybody and welcome to this week's episode of the Minecraft Disney World Q&A. This is the series in which you guys give me some questions regarding anything Disney, whether it's the movies or the theme parks or the video games, and I give you the answers to the best of my ability. Now this week is going to be a little different, and the reason for that is actually 100% my fault. Last night I recorded this episode and it turned out my microphone was turned off the whole time. So I've seen all these questions, I've answered all these questions, but here I am answering them again. So if we get through the episode a little quickly this week, that's sort of why I already know how I'm going to be answering them. Anyway, we're here in the animal kingdom. And I'm just going to jump right in. There are actually a bunch of questions that are sort of related to each other, so we can answer a few of these in groups. In fact, let's start off with the first group. The first question comes from Jakey Jurin, who asks, the last episode you talked about big additions to the Animal Kingdom and the Magic Kingdom and how they bring in crowds. What do you think Epcot and Hollywood Studios can get? Also, I have the thought about Epcot not having a parade. Do you think a parade showing each country with its culture and related Disney movies could be in it? What do you think about this idea? I, first of all, definitely think that there's stuff that could be added to Epcot and to the Hollywood Studios. Now I'm going to just, before I completely answer it, I'm going to go in a couple other questions that are pretty similar. Matt Plays Minecraft asks, hey Rob, a question for your next Q&A. Which of the Disney parks do you think has the most potential for expansion and improvement? And then finally, Devin on Minecraft asks, what do you think about getting rid of paper Fast Pass? And also, do you think Epcot will do more amazing futuristic redos of rides like Test Track, aka Tron Track? So a lot of Epcot talk there and a couple of other things, and I'll get to all of them. Regarding Epcot, I definitely think it has the most potential for expansion and improvement. Expansion not in the sense of expanding outwards and taking up new and more space, but in the sense of adding more to the park to offer to guests. And I think the reason for that is if you look at World Showcase on a map, there's a lot of free space around the Seven Seas Lagoon, around the World Showcase Lagoon. And the reason for that was there was always plans for more country pavilions. Some of them fell through, some of them never went anywhere, but there they are, and the infrastructure's still there. It's really just a matter of putting buildings there. Obviously, I make it sound so much easier than it would really be, but I think relative to the idea of building a whole new section of the Magic Kingdom or a whole new section of Hollywood Studios, this would be relatively simple. So I think it's got the most room for improvement. In regards to Jakey's question about the parade, I think it's a great idea on paper. I think the reason you don't see it, and you probably won't see it, is because when you run a parade, you have to sort of close off that parade route so that nobody gets in the way or gets hurt, right? And naturally, a parade about World Showcase would be around World Showcase. So how do you plan that out? Do you block off World Showcase? Like, how would people get around through World Showcase? Do you take up half of the path? I mean, you could kind of probably figure it out, but I think in today's data-driven world, the idea of flowing crowds is so important to Disney that I would be surprised if you saw something like that on a large scale. Maybe on a tiny scale where it's just like a couple like people and no floats or anything like that. Maybe you could see something like that. That'd be kind of interesting. Never say never, right? In regards to Devin's question about more futuristic recreations of rides, I don't know about futuristic specifically. I mean, Disney's not meant to be a one-trick pony. I don't think they would just see, Test Track and see how that works out and then, recreate it with all these other rides. But I do think there are plenty of rides that can be upgraded and given a refurbishment and brought into this 21st century, this 2014 space we're in, because technology grows at such an alarming and awesome rate. In fact, I have a series that I alternate in on Saturdays called Revisiting Epcot, in which I go to these pavilions and I just 100% personal opinion talk about what I think Disney could do in order to make these rides better, make these attractions better and more up to date. So, I mean, I've got my ideas. I'm sure everyone else does, and I'm sure people at Disney do as well. So those three questions, thank you for them. Next two questions are also pretty related. We have one from Jonathan Washuda, who asks, "Hey Rob, with Frozen out in theater, do you think Disney will make a ride, show, etc.?" And then similarly, we have Dylan Lydell who says, "I also have a question. Do you think they will add a Frozen section to the Art of Animation Resort?" Now, Frozen's out. It's in theaters. It's actually breaking records. I heard it's now the record holder for the most money made for an original animated film, I think. It's definitely up there, that's for sure. It's, that's both on paper and anecdotally. My best friend was in Disney for her honeymoon a week or two ago, and she said there was pretty much no Frozen merchandise in Disney World because it was all sold out. It was just you couldn't grab Frozen merchandise fast enough. So do I think we'll be seeing Frozen in the parks? Absolutely. In what form? I have no idea. I wouldn't be surprised, even though it's not technically, they're not from Norway, right? I don't know my Frozen lore that well, so you guys can teach me a little bit of something about it. But I could see them doing something maybe in Epcot in Norway, have a character meet and greet there or something. Maybe in the longer term, put an attraction in somewhere or a show. I don't think the movie lent itself physically, action-wise, to like an exciting attraction, which seems to be the style of attraction that Disney wants to put in these days. So I think what you'd see more likely would be some sort of musical show similar to The Lion King, something like that. As for the Art of Animation Resort, which Dylan asked about, I wouldn't expect them to put in a whole section devoted to Frozen, maybe not this soon. But what I could see happening, which I think would be really cool, is I know they have some themed rooms, which are like the suites, and they're themed after certain movies and properties. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw like a Frozen themed like family suite. That'd be cool. You know, you got the ice castle and all of that, and you got the characters on the walls. That'd be fantastic. So yeah, let's see. We've got Devin on Minecraft who asks, "What do you think of Disney dropping partnership with Lay's potato chips and Disney selling their own brand of chips at the parks?" Now, I haven't read about this, so I should have confirmed this before I read the question, but it's a good hypothetical, and it was one that I almost skipped over because it seems like such a minor issue, right? Potato chips, big deal, right? But I think it's worth mentioning because it's this idea of vertical integration and this concept of Disney cutting out outside companies and sort of taking over all aspects that I think has the potential of being good and has the potential of being pretty bad. On the surface of it, there's the question of like, well, are Disney potato chips any good compared to Lay's? Are they good? Are they better? Are they worse? The problem is if they're worse, what are your options? You're on Disney property. You're not going to go drive off property for a better bag of potato chips, right? And that's a minor fact. That's just a minor thing, right? Potato chips are so minor, but it's indicative of maybe what you could see happen on a larger scale, right? Maybe it's potato chips first. What happens if they were to cut out Coca-Cola or Pepsi, right? And then they make their own soda, and it's not good soda. There's another thing that, you wouldn't go off property for, but, you just have to put up with, or, things like that. Disney bed sheets or something like that. The idea of, I think there's value in allowing a company that specializes in something to specialize it, being the master of one trade as opposed to jack of all trades. And I think on this scale, it's really so minor, it's probably not a big deal. But it's a trend I don't want to see like grow and grow, especially because, there's the quality aspect. On the other side of it, that could cut down on costs. They don't have to buy the potato chips. They make them themselves. It's cheaper to do. And then, if you have a morally upstanding company, that savings would be passed on to you. Will that happen? I don't know. That's a whole other story. You could just as easily stay the same price, and then that just means more profits for them. So it's a balance. As far as specifically the potato chips, I don't really care because I'm not a huge potato chip fan. That's a lie. I love potato chips, but I guess I don't care enough that I would take a stance either way. But just that overarching issue of, do I like the idea of Disney cutting out these specialty companies and, doing it themselves? I don't know if I'm a huge fan of that idea. Next up, we have OKC Max, who says, "I have a question for you. I recently went to Hollywood Studios and my little brother was playing on all the stuff on the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids playground. However, Honey, I Shrunk the Audience has been removed for Captain EO, and the last Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movie was made in 1997. Do you think this attraction is outdated? I say this as a big Honey, I Shrunk the Kids fan, ironically. Great question, and unfortunately, I do kind of think it's outdated. I'm also a big fan, and maybe they could make it relevant again and reboot Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and bring back Rick Moranis out of retirement. I would love that. Will it happen? Probably not. I do think if something's going to get pulled out of Hollywood studios for something else, I think Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, that set will be that. Now, what I would hope they would do if they do pull it out is that they replace it with something that is of equal value in terms of theme park attractions, which is to say, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the set was, one, great for little kids, and two, as a little kid, I remember being little and when it first opened up, I think there was special value of that it was an attraction for me. It wasn't, something that the whole family took part in. It's where I got to, have my cool little kid attraction. So I hope if they were to replace that, they would put something else that would also be, for the kids to sort of keep the park well-rounded and, I don't know, maybe something more relevant. I don't know what that would be. Maybe like Toy Story or Ants. Toy Story, there's one where you have that same theme of being small. Now I'm going to jump to this next question here because we're at the Wonders of Life Pavilion. Quick question. Whenever you talk about Epcot, you say you want to bring back the Wonders of Life Pavilion. What was in it and what was it all about? I never got to see it and I want to know more about it. So the Wonders of Life Pavilion, we're looking right at it. If you look in those windows, it was a pavilion in Epcot focused on the human body and a little bit of technology in the human body, but mostly health and the human body and how it works. And sort of similar to the land, it was the sort of pavilion where you walked inside and there were different things to do in there. It wasn't like Universe of Energy where you walk in and it's the one attraction. Like here you had Body Wars, you had, Cranium Command, things like that. They had the Goofies exercising, and they had with those exercise bikes and the The Miracle of Me, which talked about, how babies happen, how babies are formed and things like that. What happened to it was it sort of lost its sponsorship and kind of was abandoned on the wayside, and the attractions weren't very up to date or relevant. Cranium Command especially was this attraction. It was a show that featured pretty much all 90s comedians, most of whom aren't really super relevant today, which means if it was open today, it would just be such an aged and dated attraction. I really hope they do something with the building. I think if you were to ever go on Google and just do a search for like Wonders of Life, you'd see people with their VHS cameras doing walkthroughs of it, things like that. It was a cool building, and I do one day hope to do a video that goes further in depth into the history of it. So I just touched upon it lightly, but it was essentially a pavilion all about the human body that eventually they closed down. Now, let's see, what do we have? Next question comes from Dylan Easton. What's your favorite ride from the Test Track building? World of Motion, Test Track, or Test Track 2.0? Good fitting since we're right here. Mine would have to be World of Motion. Not because I dislike Test Track. I like Test Track. I haven't tried Test Track 2.0. I'm excited to try it the next time I go down. But World of Motion has sort of the nostalgia factor that, I'm not going to lie, weighs into my opinion. And it's sort of also, I think, I've always called World of Motion the Spaceship Earth of travel and motion. And I think Spaceship Earth is the perfect representation of what the park's about. So I think World of Motion was also very similar to that. So I miss it dearly, but always, new things. That's the point of Disney. Yishai Tao asks, why does Disney leave some attractions or areas of the park that are closed undemolished? Now that's fitting since we just talked about the Wonders of Life. It is a short and simple answer, is because it costs money to demolish a building. You got to get a construction crew in there. You got to pay them. You got to knock it down. You need to pay them to get all of that, wreckage removed. It's a hassle, and sometimes it's just cheaper to leave it there, especially because, Disney might do something with it, like the Wonders of Life building. They could just refurbish it and put it to use and save a lot of money rather than build a whole new building. And then lastly this week, Hunter Productions 2 asks, what if Mojang partnered with Disney and made a Minecraft movie or even an interactive attraction in the park? Minecraft's creativity and Disney's creativity seems like they would go well together. Also, because Disney would be partnered with Minecraft, they could help out MC Magic. Do you think any of this could happen? Could happen? Maybe. I mean, every time I think to myself, no, the odds of that are so low that they'll never happen. I remember that they've partnered with James Cameron to bring Avatar Land to Disney World, to the Animal Kingdom, and it just seems so bizarre, and it's something I would have bet against, so I've learned to not bet against things happening. I'd say never. If Minecraft movie were ever to come about and it was involved with Disney, specifically Pixar or just Disney animation in general, I'd be psyched because they're really good filmmakers, and so I would have faith in a Minecraft movie being pretty good. So I'd be happy with that. I don't know if that'll happen. I'm sure Mojang's gotten plenty of offers for movies and all sorts of theme parks and things like that. I would, as an obvious Disney fan, diehard fan, would think they would be the best choice. Do I think it'll happen? I don't know. I think what you'd really need to see is whether or not Minecraft has the staying power. Disney's not going to drop all that money into something like an attraction or a part of a theme park or a movie for a property that they think might just fizzle out in 4 or 5 years. And it's crazy for us to say now, right? Because we're such big fans of Minecraft, but it's entirely possible. I think it would be cool, though, especially, like you said, because Minecraft's such an interactive and creative video game, and the parks are going into such an interactive and creative direction that I think it would be a perfect match. Where would you put it? How about put it in the Imagination Pavilion? That would be perfect, sponsored by Mojang. What better game lets people use their imagination and technology and have them cross paths and, teach people, like, what did Redstone do to teach people about computing and circuitry? How many of you have learned, with it, maybe not even realizing it, but learned some of the basics of actual technical circuitry through Redstone? I think Minecraft Mojang, I think you've just gave me an idea for what to do for the Revisiting Epcot for the Journey into Imagination Pavilion. In any case, I'm going to leave it off here. I would like to thank everybody for your questions. If you have a question you want me to talk about or answer, or you have an answer that you think you want to correct me on, feel free to leave it in the comments. I love hearing from everybody, and I love using that to sort of steer the direction of the series. In any case, whatever you're doing, I hope you make the most of it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you all here next time for the next episode of the Minecraft Disney World Q&A. Bye, everybody.